It all began in the land of Taginia, though tranquil is a story people tell to comfort themselves. From afar, it looks like a kingdom worth envying. 5 mighty castles rising over rivers and valleys, 6 thriving cities buzzing with trade, and 14 quiet towns tucked into forests, plains, and the shadow of snow-covered mountains. But beneath that beauty, something is wrong. Many of those towns, especially the smaller, hidden ones, are controlled by the Iridel, who hold power tightly from within the city of Taginia. Their influence stretches farther than most dare to admit. And the forests. Some are better left untouched. People whisper about them. Paths that don't lead back. Places where something watches. Worst of all is King Gregory. He rules not just with a crown, but with fear. Gold, food, land. He controls it all. Entire towns have been stripped, burned, or abandoned under his command. The people have suffered for years, pokol after pokol, watching their homes fall and their voices fade. No one has been brave enough, or strong enough, to stand against him. So the kingdom waits, waiting in silence, waiting in fear. But not forever. Because when a land is pushed this far, conflict is no longer a possibility. It's inevitable. King Diagil, ruler of a rival dominion, stood in defiance of King Gregory's ambition. Gregory sought to claim the distant land of Lexington, but Diagil would not allow it without challenge. To him, Lexington lay too far from Iredell to be ruled fairly. In the courtroom, his voice thundered as he made his stand, accusing Gregory of overreach and warning of the consequences. But King Gregory did not come unprepared. Behind his confident grin stood more than just authority. There was influence, power, and gold. The dispute, rather than spilling onto a battlefield, was confined within the court. There, judgment was passed not by strength of arms, but by persuasion, and something far less honorable. The ruling came down swiftly. Gregory had won. Rage burned in King Diagil as the verdict echoed through the chamber. To him, the outcome was no justice. It was corruption. He saw clearly what others dared not say aloud. Gold had paved the way. The judge had been swayed, bought, and bent to Gregory's will. Furious, Diagil stormed from the courtroom, shouting accusations of bribery, his anger shaking the very walls. This was no true victory. It was the beginning of something far worse, because now everyone understood the truth. King Gregory was not to be trusted, and with more land came more power, and with more power, the shadow of war loomed ever closer.
Court is adjourned.
You can't just walk away from this! Judge! My people will not be ignored! You hear me? This isn't over!
After the court hearing in Iredell, the silence of judgment did not bring peace. It fueled something far more dangerous. King Gregory walked away with victory, and his eyes locked firmly on Lexington. But King Diagil, he walked away with fury. The ruling burned inside him, uncontrollable, turning quickly into a desire for revenge. If Gregory wanted Lexington, then Diagil would make sure there was nothing left to claim. In a single week, Diagil struck first. He raided Lexington in secret, stripping the land of its valuable resources before Gregory could even arrive. Supplies, materials, anything of worth were taken. It was a calculated move, one meant to cripple Gregory before his rule could even begin. But when King Gregory finally reached Lexington and saw what remained, he didn't hesitate. He knew exactly who was responsible. King Diagil. Gregory's response was swift and merciless. Rather than reclaim what was lost, he chose to send a message, a devastating one. He marched his forces straight to Selsmire village, Diagil's town, and unleashed destruction. Cannons roared through the air, tearing into homes, shattering buildings into rubble. Fire spread wildly, swallowing the village in chaos. Smoke filled the sky as families fled for their lives. There was no mercy. Those who resisted were cut down. Soldiers were captured and taken as prisoners. The village that once stood proud was reduced to ruin in a matter of moments. And King Diagil, he could only watch. He had expected retaliation, but not this. Not so fast, not so brutal. Standing amid the flames of Selsmire, the weight of his decision finally hit him. This was no longer a rivalry. This was war. Meanwhile, outside the walls of Iredell, a lone voice begins to rise above the noise of the town. That voice belongs to Hebrew Henry, a scholar, a thinker, and a man who refuses to stay silent. Clutching his notes and speaking with conviction, Henry moves through the crowded streets, declaring to anyone who will listen that King Gregory is corrupt. He has spent years studying the king's every move, piecing together a truth others are too afraid or too unwilling to see. To Henry, the conclusion is undeniable. Gregory is not a savior, but a tyrant and a bully hiding behind power and influence. Some townspeople listen closely, their faces shifting with concern. A few begin to believe him, but many others push back. They warn him to stay quiet. They remind him that the king fed them just days ago. To them, Gregory is not a villain. He's a provider. The divide in Iredell grows clearer. With every word, Henry speaks. Still, Henry does not waver. His voice sharpens. His expression hardens. He calls the king what he truly believes him to be, a tyrant, and begins rallying those willing to stand against him. In the town square, surrounded by a gathering crowd, Henry raises his hand and calls for action. March with me if you resist King Gregory's authority. Though doubt lingers in many hearts, a movement has begun. Henry knows the truth. He has the proof, and he will not stop, not until King Gregory's rule comes to an end. Days after the devastation of Selsmire village, the fires may have dimmed, but King Diagil's anger has not. Loss has only hardened him. He knows the truth now. If he does not strike back, he will be erased. King Gregory will not stop until Selsmire is nothing more than a memory and Diagil himself is replaced. So, instead of retreating, Diagil chooses war. With a plan forming, he rides out in search of allies. His first stop, Jark, a strange and unruly town, crawling with rats who live as they please, answering to no one but their own. Among them rules Mayor Farley, a large, crude, sharp-tongued rat with a reputation for mockery and strength. Beneath the sarcasm lies a leader who commands loyalty. Diagil knows exactly what he's doing coming here. Standing firm, spear in hand, he makes his intentions clear. He doesn't ask for sympathy, he offers purpose. I want Gregory's head. I want Jacques at my side. Farley listens, then breaks into a crooked, eager grin. At the mere mention of King Gregory, his disdain spills out. Gregory, the silver-plated snake. A ruler Farley has no love for and even less respect. But the idea of tearing down Iredell's gates, of bringing chaos to Gregory's doorstep, it excites him. Farley doesn't hesitate. Jacques will march. Every rat with a spine will stand under Diagil's banner. Diagil gives his blessing without restraint. Burn the gates, tear it down, make them feel it. And with that, the deal is sealed. A handshake, firm, unyielding. An alliance is born. Jacques and Selsmire now stand together, united not by honor, but by a shared hatred and a hunger for war.
Hey, pals, Farley's strolling through. You hear those drums in the hills? Means the party's close. Battle's coming. Tomorrow night we march on that marble roost they call Iredell. Yeah, I'm talking about kicking in their gates' boots first. I'm gonna give them...
After securing the allegiance of Jock, King Diagil does not slow down. He knows one alliance is not enough, so he travels further, into the elegant and watchful city of Juta. Perched among stone towers and open skies, Juta is unlike any other place. Birds line the walls and rooftops, cardinals and blue jays standing as both citizens and soldiers. They are disciplined, sharp-eyed and strong, but not eager for war. In Juta, battle is a last resort, not a first move. At the heart of this city stands King Conrad, a regal cardinal, crowned and draped in authority, with snakes coiled around him like living armor. Silent guardians, always watching. He's not a reckless ruler. Every decision he makes is weighed carefully. When Diagil arrives, Conrad already senses the purpose. "Diagil," he says, his tone measured, "you've come for war." Diagil does not deny it. With intensity in his voice, he lays out the truth as he sees it. Gregory's expansion, his destruction of Selsmire, and the danger that looms over every independent land. He warns Conrad plainly, if nothing is done, Juta will be next. Its towers, its people, its skies, taken or burned. For a moment, Conrad says nothing. He thinks, because he believes Diagil, but belief is not the same as action. Conrad knows war would put Juta at risk. His people are strong, but he refuses to throw them into chaos unless there is no other choice. He will not gamble his city on a preemptive strike. Finally, after a long silence, he nods. His answer is careful, controlled. Juta will stand with Diagil, but only if war truly comes to them. If the armies clash, if the threat becomes unavoidable, then Conrad will join the fight. But he makes one thing clear. He will not strike first. Diagil accepts. It is not the full commitment he hoped for, but it is enough. Now, a fragile alliance begins to form. Selsmere, Jock, Juta, three very different powers, bound together by a growing shadow. And at the center of it all, King Gregory. King Diagil's mission to unite the lands against King Gregory pushes forward as he arrives in the formidable town of Wallington, a place alive with energy, strength, and unshakable pride. The streets are packed with townspeople, merchants, and warriors, all moving with purpose. And this is no ordinary town. Wallington thrives on discipline and resilience, known far and wide not only for its grand carnivals, but for producing some of the finest knights in all of Taginia. As Diagil moves through the crowded streets, eyes follow him. Word spreads quickly. This is no casual visit. He searches for the man who leads this hardened town, Mayor Smitler. Smitler does not need an introduction. A towering, battle-worn figure, with a crown resting on his head and a weapon in hand, he spots Diagil immediately. He already knows why the king has come. There is no need for guessing. Only one reason would bring a ruler like Diagil here. War. Wallington has felt Gregory's cruelty before. Blood has been spilled. Knights, some of the best, were lost to Gregory's attacks. That memory still burns within Smitler, and it has shaped the town into what it is today. A place where weakness is not tolerated and freedom is defended at all costs. When Diagil's ally calls out, "King Diagil, say the word." The weight of the moment hangs heavy. Diagil steps forward, his voice steady and filled with conviction. He declares that Gregory's reign of corruption and bloodshed must end, that justice has been bought with gold for too long. No more words, no more waiting. It is time for action. Smitler doesn't hesitate. The knights of Wallington, armored, disciplined, and battle-ready, assemble with purpose. Steel glints in the light as they march through the town, a clear sign that Warlington has chosen its side. These are not just soldiers, they are elite warriors, and they are ready. In a final moment of unity, Daigil and Smittler clasp hands. No contracts, no hesitation, just mutual understanding and shared purpose. We strike soon. And just like that, the alliance is forged. Warlington stands with Daigil. The march toward Iredell has begun.
King Gregory must be defeated.
King Daigil's path to war leads him at last to Royswood, a quiet, disciplined town unlike the others he's visited. Its people, blue-skinned and solemn, are not driven by conquest or pride, but by peace, labor, and family. They are not warriors by nature, which makes Daigil's request all the more difficult. Beneath the shade of a wide, aging tree, Daigil finds Mayor Adden seated in silence, calm, unmoved. His voice, when he speaks, carries no anger, only certainty. I do not want war. To Adan, war is not glory. It is loss. Even knowing King Gregory's cruelty, he questions if fighting back is worth the cost. But Daigil didn't come unprepared. He raises his hand, revealing gold, bright, heavy, undeniable. I'll give you gold. The offer hangs in the air. Adden, still composed, finally shows a flicker of interest. And how much? Daigil leans in, his voice steady. Enough to build your own castle. That changes things. Gold means protection, growth, power, and perhaps survival, in a world slowly being consumed by Gregory's rule. Aiden rises. Then I will open the gates of Royswood. The decision is made, but Adden offers more than soldiers. He leans closer, lowering his voice. And the tunnel beneath Srock. I know of it. I can get you the map. That changes everything. A hidden path, a secret route straight toward Iredell, not a siege, but a strike from the shadows. Daigil's plan evolves in that moment. This isn't just war anymore. It's strategy, precision, surprise. Royswood has joined him, and now, with gold, allies, and a hidden path into enemy territory, King Gregory is no longer untouchable. The war isn't just coming. It's about to begin. War has begun. The war does not creep in quietly. It announces itself with thunder. From the distant lands of Royswood, King Daigil stands not behind his army, but among the cannons, commanding them with his own hands. Fire erupts. The sky tears open as cannonballs scream across the air, their paths cutting through clouds like dark comets. Each shot carries more than iron. It carries defiance. Across the water, the castle of Iredell rises, proud and unshaken. For now, the first impacts strike the outer walls. Stone bursts, dust and debris explode outward. Some shots miss, plunging into the surrounding waters where crocodiles thrash and scatter beneath the violent shock. But enough to give Daigil time. Enough to send a message. Daigil isn't trying to destroy the castle. Not yet. He's buying time. Iredell is no easy target. Surrounded by water, guarded by beasts below and alliances above. It is a fortress built to outlast wars. Beyond it lies Taginia, the true heart of power, protected by the loyal, blob-filled city of Cord and the allied town of Prasso. Any direct march would trigger a storm of resistance. So, Daigil splits the battlefield. While the cannons roar from afar, his forces move elsewhere, toward hidden tunnels beneath Srock, toward dangerous paths that avoid the obvious warfront. Every explosion at the castle walls is a distraction, a calculated strike meant to stretch Iredell thin. Smoke rises, the walls crack but do not fall. And that's enough, because this battle was never meant to be simple. Daigil knows the truth. Iredell is too strong, too defended, too prepared. Every option he has is dangerous. Through water, through tunnels, through Cord itself, every path leads into resistance. Yet he moves forward anyway, because the war has begun, and there is no turning back now.
King Gregory will feel this one.
The war above is loud, but beneath the surface, it is silent, calculated, and far more dangerous. We will attack the castle from within, Mayor Adan declares, his face hardened with resolve. While King Daigil rains fire upon Iredell from afar, Adan chooses a different path, one of shadows and secrecy. Follow me! Armed and unwavering, Adan leads his Royswood soldiers into the underground tunnels of Srock. The air is tight, the walls close, lit only by dim flickers as boots echo through the narrow passageways. Weapons are drawn, not for a siege, but for an ambush. Go through the tunnels. This is not just a military maneuver, it is a gamble. Srock, a quiet and prosperous town known for its honey and bees, was never meant to be part of this war. Yet, now, its hidden tunnels become the artery of invasion. A handful of its people, acting without the knowledge of their own leader, Mayor Abiola, leader of Srock, will never know who is truly responsible for it. Their decision is bold, but reckless. If King Gregory discovers this betrayal, Srock will not survive the retaliation. Through the winding underground, the soldiers march, disciplined, silent, deadly. Then, one by one, they rise. From beneath the streets of Taginia, iron covers shift, sewer grates lift, and Royswood soldiers emerge into the heart of the enemy's power. No alarms, no resistance. Not yet. Iredell remains focused on the chaos at its walls, blind to the danger growing inside its own core. Mayor Adan steps forward into the city, weapon raised, eyes locked ahead. Let's attack the heart. And just like that, the war is no longer at the gates. It is already inside. The trap is sprung, and for the first time, Iredell feels it. From the sky, shadows fall. The birds of Juta descend in sharp formation, wings cutting through smoke-filled air as flames begin to rise within the city walls. Their attacks are swift, deliberate, never lingering, only striking where it hurts most before vanishing back into the chaos above. Below, the gates are no longer secure. From the front lines, the rat soldiers of Jacques surge into Iredell with ruthless force. Blades drawn, teeth bared, they flood the streets with relentless aggression. There is no hesitation, no mercy. Doors are broken, homes shattered, anything in their path reduced to ruin. They are not here to conquer slowly. They are here to overwhelm. And they are not alone. Warlington's hardened knights and the battered but vengeful fighters of Selsmire push forward alongside them, clashing with Iredell's defenders in brutal, close-quarters combat. Steel meets steel, crossbows fire in waves. The once proud streets of Taginia echo with the sounds of war. Then, fire rains from afar. Daigil's forces launch explosives over the walls, streaking through the sky before crashing into the city. Buildings erupt, stone crumbles, the ground shakes with each impact. What began as a distraction has turned into devastation. Mash! Rocks and debris tear through homes as rat soldiers hurl destruction into the heart of the city. Smoke thickens, flames spread, panic begins to take hold. For a moment, it looks like it might be enough. Iredell is shaken, caught off guard, burning. King Daigil's plan, to strike from the outside while invading from within, is working. but only for now, because deep within the chaos, beyond the flames and falling stone, King Gregory is watching, and he is ready. The true battle is no longer about surprise. It's about survival.
Aim for the shutters! Let them know who's boss! Ha!
We smashed the captain's window!
Oh, drive him off! Coming through!
Face that tin can!
Town's ours, lads! Ha! To the archway!
Beneath the chaos of burning towers and falling stone, a second war ignites. The tunnels of Srock, once quiet passageways, have become a battlefield of steel and shadows. Royswood soldiers pour out from every opening, blades drawn, armor marked with the bold R. At their front stands Sembo, blue-skinned, unshaken, his sword already raised before the enemy can even close in. He doesn't hesitate. He charges. Steel clashes instantly. Iredale soldiers flood the tunnels in response, their numbers overwhelming, their defense relentless. The narrow stone corridors echo with the sound of swords scraping, shields cracking, and boots grinding against dust and blood. There is no room to retreat, only forward. Sembo cuts through the first line with force, striking hard, fast, and without fear. Every swing is meant to break Iredale's hold from the inside, but for every soldier that falls, another takes their place. Iredale does not run out of men, and that's the problem. The deeper the Royswood fighters push, the thicker the resistance becomes. Reinforcements stream in from within the castle like an endless tide. What was meant to be a stealth invasion has turned into a brutal standstill. Then, pow! A new force crashes into the fight. Strike, a soldier of Srock, the man who made all of this possible. He fights not as a guide, but as a weapon. With fists and fury, Strike slams into Iredale's defenders, his anger raw, personal. He doesn't fight for strategy. He fights for something deeper. Pain, revenge. Every blow he lands carries years of silent suffering under King Gregory's rule. He betrayed his own leader, Mayor Abiola. He risked his entire town, and he does not regret it, because, to him, this war was inevitable. Alongside him, a handful of Srock soldiers who chose to follow in secret now stand shoulder to shoulder with Royswood, not for glory, but for change. The tunnels tremble with violence. Sembo's blade flashes, Strike's fists thunder. Iredale's soldiers keep coming. For now, neither side breaks. The battle below is locked in a deadly balance, tight, brutal, unforgiving. And while the war above burns bright for all to see, down here in the dark, this fight may decide everything. While Iredale burns and steel clashes in its streets, far from the chaos, a quieter decision shapes the war. In the dusty town of Hilloween, Sheriff Dunmore stands firm, revolver in hand, not as a man rushing to battle, but as one weighing the cost of it. He is no coward. He is careful. Around him, alliances tighten like a noose. Taginia, Praso, Gisa, all stand with King Gregory. One wrong move, one open declaration of war, and Hilloween would be wiped from the map before sunrise. So Dunmore chooses a different path, not the battlefield, but the shadows behind it. In the city of Juta, he meets with his old friend, Cyan, the sharp-eyed Blue Jay soldier. Armor glints against feathers, eyes locked with understanding. No speeches are needed between them. Their history speaks louder than words. Dunmore hands over a crate. Guns, ammunition, supplies, tools of survival. Supplying weapons for the war, he mutters, more to himself than anyone else. Cyan accepts without hesitation. He knows what this means. Not just aid, but risk. A silent alliance forged in trust. Dunmore doesn't stop there. More weapons, medical supplies, quiet shipments sent under watchful skies. Every piece given is a defiance kept hidden, because he knows the truth. If he rides out with them, Hilloween falls. If he stays back, he can still make a difference. He tightens his grip on the revolver, eyes hardened by the weight of leadership. Too risky for my people. A pause. But I won't fight with you. It's not refusal. It's sacrifice. Sheriff Dunmore stands alone in his choice, helping a war he cannot join, protecting a town that may never know how close it came to destruction. And as the fires of Iredell grow higher, so does the cost of every decision made in the shadows.
I have aid for the city of Juta.
The moment of hesitation is gone. King Conrad no longer watches from a distance. He rises, crowned and fierce. The Cardinal King lifts his hand, voice cutting through the air with command and conviction. Destroy everything in your way. Go forth. This is no longer a defensive stand. This is war. Outside the walls of Taginia, the soldiers of Juta surge forward. Rows of red-feathered warriors gripping spears, eyes locked on their target. They move fast, faster than most armies can react, their formations tight and purposeful. Where they strike, they do not linger. They pierce, they vanish, they strike again. I am your king. Fight, Conrad declares, stepping into the role he once tried to avoid. He never wanted this. He wanted caution, balance, protection without provocation. But that choice is gone. King Gregory knows Juta is involved, and now there is no middle ground. Fight! The command echoes, and the Cardinal soldiers answer without hesitation. Some among them carry more than weapons. There is something deeper in their ranks, a quiet hint of power, magic, precision, discipline. They are not just fighters, they are elite. We live for this moment. Their voices rise together as they charge, the weight of purpose driving them forward. This is not destruction for its own sake. It is a belief, a vision, freedom. Conrad knows the cost. He knows what happens if they fail, but he also knows what happens if they do nothing. So he leads, not from behind, but at the front of a storm. He can no longer hold back. Iredell, already shaken, now faces another force, fast, fearless, and fully committed, and at the center of it all, King Conrad. The tunnels beneath Iredell have become a battlefield of desperation. Tight, suffocating corridors where steel clashes in the dark, and every step forward is paid for in blood. Mayor Smittler of Wallington wastes no time. His command is sharp and urgent. Strike from within or lose everything. His soldiers, clad in worn armor marked with the Red Cross, push into the narrow stone passageways, knowing there is no turning back. The walls echo with distant screams and the thunder of combat ahead. Inside, chaos reigns. Iredell's forces swarm like a relentless tide, pouring through the tunnels with overwhelming numbers. Selsmeyer and Royswood soldiers are already locked in brutal close-quarters combat. No formations, no strategy, just survival. Blades scrape against stone, shields splinter, and the air grows thick with dust and the metallic scent of blood. Smittler sees it immediately. This is slipping. We must do this quickly. He growls, gripping his sword tighter as he rallies more men into the tunnel. Every second matters. Every delay feeds Iredell's advantage. His eyes burn with urgency, because he knows the truth. If these tunnels fall, the war is lost before it ever reaches the surface. He pushes deeper. The reinforcements from Wallington surge forward, crashing into the fight to relieve Royswood's struggling forces. The tunnel becomes a choke point of violence. Men colliding in tight quarters, no room to retreat, only to fight or fall. Smittler doesn't stay behind issuing orders. He leads from the front, stepping into the heart of the battle himself, or we will lose this quickly. His words hang heavy, not fear but reality, because beneath Iredell, this is where the war is truly being decided, not in the castles, not in the open fields, but here in the darkness. And yet, Gregory's already thinking beyond the tunnels. Something bigger is coming.
We must do this quickly.
The tide of war shifts, and it shifts fast. From the powerful city of Kord, a new force enters the battlefield. King Yaka, long absent at the start of the war, now arrives with purpose and precision. A loyal and unwavering ally of King Gregory, Yaka wastes no time asserting control. His command echoes clearly. Set up a decoy. This isn't just brute force. This is strategy. Inside the fortified walls of Iredell, Yaka orchestrates a trap. His blob soldiers, though not the most feared warriors individually, move with discipline and overwhelming numbers. They spread out, luring the rat soldiers of Jark into vulnerable positions. Lead the enemy there. The trap is set. The rat soldiers, already stretched thin, take the bait. What seemed like an opportunity quickly turns into a nightmare. From alleyways, gates, and stone corridors, Yaka's forces close in. The decoy has worked perfectly. Yes, Your Majesty. His soldiers respond without hesitation. There is no fear in them, only obedience and momentum. Now back to battle. And just like that, the ambush becomes a full assault. King Yaka himself joins the fight, towering over his troops, blade raised high. He doesn't rule from behind. He leads from the front, driving his soldiers forward with relentless energy. His presence alone fuels the charge. Outside the castle walls and within the streets of Iredell, chaos erupts. Spears are launched, steel clashes. The rat soldiers of Jark, led by Mayor Farley, are caught from all sides. They are fierce, but they were not ready for this, not ready for the numbers, not ready for the endurance, not ready for Kord. The blob soldiers absorb hits that would drop others. They keep moving, keep pushing, keep tightening the circle. Yaka knew their strength wasn't skill, it was resilience and sheer volume. And now it's overwhelming the enemy. The Jark forces begin to falter. Ground is lost. Formation breaks. Confidence fades. What started as an attack on Iredell has turned into a brutal reversal. With Kord's massive population now fully engaged, the battlefield tilts heavily in King Gregory's favor. His alliances are not just holding, they are striking back with force. Mayor Farley faces a grim reality. Hold the line and risk total collapse, or retreat and live to fight again. Because if this pressure continues, there may be nothing left of his army to save.
We'll set up a decoy.
The war reaches a terrifying turning point. The moment King Gregory finally steps into the open. He is no longer a distant ruler pulling strings from the shadows. He is here, armored, furious, and fully unleashed. Though briefly caught off guard, Gregory proves exactly why he rules Taginia. His roar cuts through the battlefield as he rallies his forces with unmatched speed and authority. There is no hesitation, no confusion, only command, and then the truth is revealed. This was never his full strength. From hidden reserves, wave after wave of Iredell's most elite soldiers flood into the city. These are not ordinary fighters. They are sharper, stronger, and far more disciplined. Gregory had been holding them back, waiting for the perfect moment. This is that moment. The battlefield in Iredell shifts instantly. What was once a contested fight becomes a brutal sweep. Enemy soldiers are cut down, driven back, or crushed entirely as Gregory's army surges forward with overwhelming force. Streets are cleared faster than anyone expected. But Gregory isn't just thinking about Iredale. He's thinking bigger. Orders are sent beyond the battlefield to the powerful city of Piskville. There, King Kasos answers the call. His massive army, reinforced by fierce monkeys and warriors, mobilizes without delay. When Iredale's forces link with Piskville, their combined strength becomes something far more dangerous, a war machine. They move to Lexington, gathering even more fighters. Then, like a blade in the dark, they strike from behind. While Jark's rat soldiers are still deeply engaged in Iredale, their home is left exposed. Gregory knew this would happen. He planned for it. As the fighting rages in one place, his forces tear into another. Jark burns. Flames rise across rooftops as Piskville, Lexington, and Iredale soldiers storm through the streets. The rat soldiers are overwhelmed, outnumbered, outmaneuvered, and unprepared for an attack on their own home. Panic spreads. Some try to fight, others flee. Many fall. Mayor Farley's forces begin to collapse, and still, it doesn't stop. The invading army pushes through Jark and marches towards Selsmire, leaving destruction in its wake. At the same time, King Gregory drives forward from the front lines, tightening the noose. King Diagil, still caught in the chaos within Iredale, is now dangerously out of position. His forces split, his allies under siege. Gregory's strategy is working perfectly. Divide them, distract them, destroy their homes, force them to retreat. The battlefield is no longer just about winning ground. It's about breaking the enemy completely. Fire consumes the night. Screams echo through the streets. Entire towns fall into ruin. And above it all, King Gregory does not shout in desperation. He roars in dominance, a roar of victory, a roar of destruction, a roar that signals to all of Taginia. The king was never losing. As the darkness reigns and the fire burns, King Gregory has a lot of words to say. So, you finally crawl before me. Look at you, burned from your homes, stripped of your pride, your swords dull, your banners torn, your voices reduced to whispers. This is what remains of those who dared to stand against me. You thought I was weak. You thought I was distracted, divided, vulnerable. But I was watching, always watching. Every step you took, every alliance you formed, every whisper of rebellion that slithered through your ranks. I heard it. I let it grow. I let you grow. Because rot is easier to destroy once it spreads. And now I stand before you, not as a king seeking peace, but as the end of all things that defy me. Do you hear it? The crackling of your cities as they burn, the distant screams carried through the wind, the silence where your leaders once spoke with courage. That is the sound of your world ending. I did not win this war with mercy. Mercy is for the weak. Mercy is for rulers who beg to be loved. I do not beg. I take. I take your lands, your loyalty, your very breath, if I so choose. I take until there is nothing left of you but obedience or ash. You called me a tyrant. Good. A tyrant does not hesitate. A tyrant does not forgive. A tyrant does not lose. I am the hand that tightens around your throat. I am the shadow that creeps into your homes at night. I am the voice in the dark that whispers your end long before it arrives. And now you see it, don't you? All your strength, all your numbers, all your hope. It was never enough, because while you fought for survival, I fought for dominion. While you protected what you had, I took what I wanted. And I wanted everything. Your armies are broken, your towns burning offerings to my rise, your allies scattered, hunted, forgotten. Even now, as you stand here trembling, you are not thinking of victory. You are thinking of escape, There is none. Not from me, not from what I have become. You thought this was a war of men. No, this was something far older, far darker. Something that feeds on fear, on chaos, on the collapse of those foolish enough to resist it. I am not just your king, I am your reckoning. Your curses will not touch me. Your gods will not save you. Your last prayers will fall into the same fire that consumes your name. Look around you. This land, these ruins, this silence, this is my throne, and from it I will rule not with kindness, not with justice, but with fear so deep, so absolute, that no one will ever dare rise against me again. Kneel, kneel, or be erased, because victory was never in question. It was inevitable. And I am the reason why. The war spreads like fire, and now it reaches the skies. King Gregory is not finished, not even close. While the Iredell holds strong against its attackers, Gregory strikes where his enemies are weakest, their homes. The city of Juta, once a place of guarded strength and reluctant warriors, now finds itself under siege. And at the front of that destruction stands one name: Uldric, a towering figure from the city of Cord. Uldric leads the blob soldiers with ruthless precision. Crowned and armored, he moves through Juta like a force of nature, silent, heavy, unstoppable. Where he steps, resistance breaks. The first clash is immediate. Bird soldiers swoop and strike from above, but Uldric doesn't hesitate. His fist slams into one with crushing force, sending feathers scattering through the air. Others rush him, wings flaring, weapons drawn, but they meet steel. His blade flashes, birds fall. Around him, the blob soldiers surge into the city streets, smashing through defenses, hurling stones skyward, striking down any bird that dares to descend. They are not elegant fighters, but they are relentless. Every swing, every throw, every step forward is driven by one purpose: domination. Juta begins to crumble. Uldric presses deeper, grabbing one bird soldier and casting it aside like nothing. Another charges, only to be cut down where it stands. The ground becomes littered with fallen wings as the battle turns into a slaughter. Above, panic spreads. The birds begin to scatter, some still fighting, others fleeing the flames rising from their own city. Towers burn, homes collapse. Smoke fills the sky that once belonged to them. This is no longer just a battle. It's a message from King Gregory, from Cord, from war itself. You're not safe anywhere. Even as Juta burns, some bird soldiers break away, flying hard and fast, desperate to reach King Conrad with the truth he feared from the beginning. He was right to hesitate. He was right to fear this war, because now, while his forces are divided, while some fight in Iredell, his home is being torn apart. Gregory's strategy is cruel and perfect. Attack them where they live, break them where they stand, force them to choose between fighting or saving what's left. And Uldric ensures that choice comes too late. With sword in hand and destruction in his wake, he continues forward, cutting down any who remain. The blob soldiers follow, overwhelming the last pockets of resistance. Juta falls into chaos, and far away, King Conrad is about to learn the cost of taking a side in this war, because King Gregory does not just defeat his enemies, he dismantles them, and one city at a time, he is winning. The war finally reaches a breaking point. Not on the battlefield, but in the mind of a king, far from the flames consuming his city. King Conrad of Juta feels it before he even sees it. The shift, the collapse, the inevitability. Word arrives, like a blade to the chest. Juta is burning. Aldrich and the blob soldiers of Cord are tearing through his home, leaving ruin in their wake. Conrad does not react with rage. He goes still, because deep down, he knew this moment would come. He had feared it from the beginning, feared that stepping into this war, even cautiously, would invite something far greater than he could control. Now, that fear stands before him as truth. King Gregory is not just winning, he's overwhelming everything. Conrad's eyes harden, but there is no fire in them, only weight. The burden of a king who understands what must be done, even if it breaks him. He summons a messenger at once. "Find King Daigil," he commands. Now, the messenger wastes no time, sprinting into the chaos of war, carrying words that could change everything. Conrad then turns to his soldiers, bird warriors still ready to fight, still believing there is something left to win. But he knows better. The war is over. The words land heavier than any weapon. Some hesitate. Others stare in disbelief. But most understand immediately. They've seen the tide turn. They've felt the pressure closing in. And now, hearing it from their king, the truth becomes undeniable. "Retreat, all of you. Return to Juta. There is no glory in the order. No pride. Only survival." The bird soldiers begin to scatter, some running, others taking flight into the sky, abandoning the battlefield of Iredell to save what little remains of their home. The fight they once believed in dissolves into urgency and fear. Conrad watches them go. Then he follows. Eventually, amidst the fading chaos of battle, Conrad finds King Daigil. The meeting is quiet but heavy with consequence. Conrad does not waste time. "I protect my people, not your revenge." Daigil's face tightens. He already knows what's coming. But hearing it spoken makes it real. Conrad continues, voice steady but worn. "We cannot win this, not like this. Iredell is too strong. Gregory has too many soldiers, too many alliances, too many ways to strike us where we are weakest. We fight him in one place. He destroys us in another." Images of burning towns, Juta, Jacques, Selsmeyer, hang unspoken between them. "If we continue," Conrad says, "there will be nothing left to protect." Silence follows, a long one. Daigil looks away, the weight of everything pressing down on him, his war, his anger, his plan, all unraveling in front of him. Even now, his own lands burn, his people suffer, and Gregory still stands, stronger than ever. Finally, he exhales, not in defeat, but in acceptance. "Then we end it." Conrad nods, though it brings him no relief. "I will make peace with Gregory." The words feel like surrender, because they are. But they are also the only path left. Daigil doesn't argue. He can't. Not anymore. Because deep down, he knows he will soon have to make the same choice. Just when the war seems to be collapsing into surrender, it mutates into something even darker. From the neighboring town of Braden, a final, cruel spark ignites. Mayor Botti enters the war, a towering goat king in robes marked with power. Botti is no noble ally. He is something far more dangerous, a manipulator, a schemer, a ruler who does not fight for honor, but for gain. Bought and backed by King Gregory, he sees opportunity where others see ruin. "My soldiers, let us invade Jacques." The command is not hesitant. It is eager, and then, "Attack!" The goat soldiers surge forward. They move fast, too fast for a town already bleeding. Jacques is defenseless. Its rat soldiers are scattered across distant battlefields, its streets left exposed, its people unprepared for yet another invasion. The timing is perfect, and Botti knows it. The goats crash into the city like a storm. Blades flash, hooves pound against stone, fire spreads from house to house as the town is thrown into chaos once again. But this time, there is no army left to resist, only civilians. Rats scatter through the streets, panic in their eyes, clutching what little they can carry. Some try to run, some freeze, some fall. Their home, the last place they believed they could be safe, is now a battlefield. Botti walks through it all, calm, focused, ruthless. He points. He commands. He advances without hesitation as his forces tear through Jacques' remaining defences. There is no resistance strong enough to slow him, no leader present to rally the broken. Mayor Farley is not here, and that absence seals their fate. The goat soldiers overwhelm what little remains, pushing the rats further and further into desperation. Fires rise higher, screams grow louder. The will to fight begins to disappear. This is no longer war. This is takeover. Botti doesn't just want victory, he wants control, and he's about to get it. Jacques buckles under the pressure, its people facing an impossible choice. Surrender, or be wiped out entirely. Farley, wherever he is, will return to a city on the edge of ruin, or already lost, and the truth becomes undeniable. This isn't strategy anymore. This isn't even about winning. This is power at its most corrupt. King Gregory's influence spreads beyond the battlefield, pulling in allies like Botti, late to the war, but perfectly timed to exploit its final moments. Jacques falls not to one enemy, but to all of them. And as the goats take control, one thing is clear. What remains of this war is no longer about sides. It's about who survives the aftermath. And right now, that doesn't look like the rats. The war for Iredell roars on, louder, dirtier, and more desperate than ever. At the castle walls, the first image captures chaos in motion. Gangsters in black suits line the stone battlements, their fedoras tilted low as they unleash relentless gunfire. Their weapons spit fire and thunder, something no medieval soldier was ever meant to face. Below them, Selsmire fighters charge with swords and shields, but their courage meets a storm of bullets. Smoke fills the air. Steel clashes against a future it cannot match. The gangsters shout dominance. Get away from our castle! And, for the first time, fear begins to outweigh bravery among the attackers. Then we see the power behind this defense. Mayor Zeal of Ramor stands atop the tower like a kingpin of war, a cigar clenched in his teeth, eyes cold, unmoved. He commands the culverin cannons as if they were extensions of his will. These are not just gangsters. They are organized, calculated, and ruthless. Under Zeal's command, the cannons roar to life. Fire blasts from the castle towers, tearing through advancing forces. Soldiers are launched into the air, shields shattered, formations broken instantly. This is not a battle anymore. It's a demolition. Beside this rising dominance, we see preparation and control. Gangsters wheel cannons into place with precision, working like a machine. Every move is intentional. Every shot counts. Across from them stands a symbolic figure, a crowned ruler holding scissors like a twisted sign of control. It reflects what this war has become, not just about land, but about power, manipulation, and who gets to decide the fate of Taginia. Then comes the devastating blow. Zeal fires again. Multiple cannons erupt at once. The sky itself seems to crack as flaming projectiles rain down. The defenders of Iredell now hold overwhelming firepower. Soldiers from Selsmire are blasted apart, their final stand crumbling under the barrage. Bodies fall from the castle walls. The battlefield below becomes a graveyard of broken resistance. And yet, the fight hasn't fully died. In the final sequence, Mayor Vasquez enters the war alongside Zeal, a towering presence. Armed and unshaken, he leads the pride of Praso into battle. His soldiers move with discipline and fury, rifles raised, marching under his command. Vasquez isn't just strong, he's relentless. His loyalty to King Gregory brings another crushing weight onto Selsmaier's fading hope. One panel shows his declaration clearly. "I'm here to defend Gregory's castle." And he means it. The aftermath is brutal. The ground is stained with blood. Fallen soldiers lie scattered, some reaching for life that's already gone. Even the rats of Jark, once fierce in their own right, are seen retreating, overwhelmed and outmatched. A few still fight alongside Selsmaier's remaining forces, but it's no longer enough. In the distance, Iredell Castle still stands, damaged but standing. Its walls cracked but not broken. Its defenses stronger than ever. King Gregory's alliances have tipped the scales beyond recovery, with Mayor Zeal's ruthless firepower, Mayor Vasquez's unstoppable strength, and even the looming presence of blob forces like King Yaka closing in. The war reaches its inevitable conclusion. King Diagil refuses to surrender. But refusal alone cannot win a war. Selsmaier fought for freedom. But Iredell fought with power, control, and overwhelming force. And now, as the smoke settles over the battlefield, one truth becomes clear. Iredell will not fall.
Let's go.
The war above ground had finally gone silent, but not from peace, from dominance. Around the towering castle of Iredell, the battlefield stood cleared. Fires still burned along the stone walls, smoke rising into a sky that had witnessed too much. Enemy forces were gone, either cut down or taken in chains. The city of Taginia now belonged fully to King Gregory. His defense had held. His power remained unbroken. But beneath the surface, the earth still trembled. Deep within the tunnels of Taginia, the real final struggle was unfolding. Wallington's soldiers, fierce, disciplined, and unyielding, pushed through the narrow stone corridors, refusing to accept defeat. They weren't alone. The battered but determined Royswood fighters stood with them, bloodied but unbowed. Together, they made one last stand in the darkness. Waiting for them was everything else. Iredell knights stormed the tunnels with brutal force. Beside them, the gangsters of Ramore, cold, calculated, ruthless, fought with weapons unfamiliar to the medieval world. And reinforcing them, the elite Pisqueville knights advanced with terrifying precision. Then came the final piece. King Seisos had sent his best. Quan, clad in dark armor, moving like a shadow through firelight, Quan entered the tunnels with one purpose: to end the war. His presence alone shifted the balance. Every strike was deliberate, every step unstoppable. Wallington's resistance began to crack. Steel clashed in tight corridors, crossbows fired in desperation, blades struck armor, fists struck flesh. The tunnels echoed with war cries, pain, and the collapse of hope. Then the air itself turned against them. Pisqueville soldiers unleashed thick clouds of green gas, flooding the tunnels. It choked the air, blinded the fighters, and broke formations. Royswood soldiers staggered, coughing, disoriented. Wallington knights tried to hold the line, but there was no line left to hold. They were surrounded. From every direction, enemy forces closed in. That's when the truth hit. This fight was over. Mayor Smittler, sword in hand and fire behind him, saw it clearly. Survival was the only victory left. "We must retreat," and his voice cut through chaos. Sembo of Royswood, wounded but standing, gave the same order to his men. Pride no longer mattered. Lives did, one by one. Then all at once, the resistance broke. Wallington's soldiers turned and fled through the tunnels towards Srock, helping the wounded, dragging the fallen who still breathed. Royswood fighters followed, retreating from a war they could no longer win. Behind them, the tunnels fell silent. Iredell had done it. Not just defended, but crushed the uprising. King Gregory's alliance had proven too powerful, too organized, too overwhelming. The battlefield belonged to him. The tunnels belonged to him. Taginia belonged to him. For now.
Let's finish this.
The story closes in on its final, crushing chapter. King Diagil stands alone. In the first sequence, the last fire of resistance burns inside him. Crown, crooked, face twisted with fury, he roars as he charges forward, swinging his blade, throwing his weight into every strike like a man who refuses to accept reality. Steel clashes around him, but it's not a battle anymore. It's survival. Iredell knights surround him from every side, their discipline overwhelming his desperation. Blades strike, armor presses in, and even as he takes hit after hit, Diagil refuses to fall quietly. He shouts for backup, one last call to a broken army, but only silence answers him. That's when it hits him. No soldiers, no allies, no way out. His expression changes. Rage gives way to realization. Sweat drips, eyes widen, and the truth settles in. The war is over. When he finally raises his hand and shouts, "Back up!" it's no longer a command. It's surrender. The unbreakable king is forced to his knees. In the second sequence, the aftermath unfolds across Taginia. Selsmere burns. Gangsters from Ramor stand in the wreckage they helped create. Guns in hand, calm in chaos, while smoke chokes the sky. What was once a town is now ruin. When the Selsmere soldiers return, they don't find a battlefield. They find devastation. Homes collapsed, streets empty, lives shattered. There is nothing left to defend. Elsewhere, Royswood's last fighters drop their weapons. Blue-skinned soldiers raise their hands as Iredell knights close in. Another resistance falls. Another piece of the war ends. Back in Iredell, Diagil kneels in defeat, surrounded by armored figures. This is the moment where his story could have ended, in chains or in death, but it doesn't. Instead, the knights make a different choice. They throw him out. Cast into the woods, stripped of his army, his pride, and his power, Diagil stumbles through the forest. No longer a king in battle, just a man forced to live with what's left. It's not mercy. It's judgment, a second chance, or perhaps a harsher punishment than death. And when he finally returns home, the weight of it all crushes him completely. Selsmere is broken. His people are suffering. Everything he fought for, gone. King Gregory has won, not just the battle, but the war. And King Diagil, once defiant and unstoppable, is left to face the consequences of a fight he could not win.
We got the king.
The war may be over, but not every story ends with peace. In the first panel, inside the stone halls of Cord, King Yaka stands heavy with anger and grief. His crown sits firm, but his face tells the truth. This victory cost him dearly. A soldier delivers the news no king wants to hear. One of our lead commanders were killed. The loss cuts deeper than the war itself. Yaka had marched to support King Gregory, committed his forces, and trusted his best knight to lead. That trust is now buried. The next panels reveal something even more unsettling. The killer was never part of the war. Mossbark emerges, a fierce, goblin-like rebel, clad in a dark shirt marked with a skull. His eyes burn with mischief and hostility as he grips a crossbow. He doesn't look like a soldier fighting for a cause. He looks like chaos given form. The narration makes it clear. This wasn't strategy, it was intrusion. Mossbark saw opportunity and took it. In the streets of Iredale during the height of battle, Mossbark moved alone. No banner, no allegiance, just destruction. He fires his weapon without hesitation, targeting leadership, striking where it hurts most. The city's strongest defender, its #1 knight, falls not to an opposing army, but to a rogue. And Mosbark doesn't hide it. He embraces it. A close-up shows his scowl, filled with pride and defiance. He didn't fight for King Diagil. He fought for himself, for rebellion, for disruption, for the sheer thrill of tearing power down. Coming from Wywood, a place where crime and disorder thrive, Mosbark carries that identity like a badge of honor. And then comes the insult that stings the most. He takes the crown, not as a symbol of rule, but as mockery. He wears it to provoke, to taunt the blobs of Cord, to remind them that their strongest fell to someone who didn't even care about their war. In the final moment, Mosbark crosses paths with a broken King Diagil, the once defiant king, now defeated and walking away from everything, is shoved from behind. Hey! Mosbark isn't done causing trouble. He's angry, not because of loss, but because the chaos is ending. Diagil's surrender robbed him of more destruction, more fun. But Diagil doesn't react. He doesn't fight back. He simply walks away, seeing Mosbark for what he truly is, not a warrior, not a king, just madness. And back in Cord, King Yaka is left to deal with the consequences. The blobs fought bravely. They stood their ground. They honored their role in the war. But their greatest knight is gone, not to a rival kingdom, but to a reckless force they never saw coming. Now Yaka must rebuild, not just his army, but his trust, because in Taginia, even when the war ends, chaos still finds a way.
That blob crown is mine now.
The war is over. But for King Gregory, victory is only the beginning. In the first panel, he stands tall in shining gold armor outside the castle of Iredell, untouched, unshaken, and smiling. Around him, defeated Selsmere soldiers kneel, hands clasped, begging for mercy. Their weapons lie discarded at his feet. They know the truth. Their fate now rests entirely in Gregory's hands, and Gregory enjoys that power. The next panel shifts into darkness. Inside the dungeon, the tone changes completely. The golden light fades into a suffocating shadow as Royswood prisoners sit chained at Gregory's feet. He watches them from his throne, not as a ruler offering justice, but as a man, savoring control. The chains rattle, heads hang low, and hope begins to disappear. These prisoners are no longer soldiers. They're examples, and Gregory intends to make that clear. In the following scene, Selsmere's remaining fighters surrender fully, hands raised, voices desperate. Time's up. They are surrounded by Iredell knights, stripped of any last resistance. The war may be over, but the consequences are only beginning for those who chose to stand against him. Then comes Gregory's cruelty. Unfiltered, he walks among prisoners, pointing, laughing, and branding them with one word: traitors. Those who opposed him are dragged away, some thrown into cells, others locked in chains. The worst off are those he despises most, left bound, starved, and broken in the depths of the dungeon. Gregory doesn't just imprison them, he torments them. He wants fear to spread far beyond these walls. This is no longer about war. This is about dominance. In the final panels, Iredell knights stand overlooking the land, quietly acknowledging the outcome. We won. The kingdom stands intact, the enemies are gone or captured, order, at least on the surface, has been restored. But the last image reveals the truth behind it all, a close-up of King Gregory's face, grinning wide, eyes filled with pride, and something far darker. I rule all. It's not just a statement, it's a warning. Gregory isn't satisfied with victory. He wants obedience, total control. Every town, every leader, every voice that once dared to challenge him will now answer to him, or suffer the same fate as those in his dungeons. Prisoners become leverage, fear becomes law, and resistance becomes nearly impossible. Because in Taginia now, defeating Gregory didn't weaken him, it made him stronger. Piskville. The way to victory. King Seisos stands as a symbol of endurance, but also of loss. In the first panels, the old king, now 80 years strong, grips his sword with the same fire he's carried his entire life. "I can still fight at the age of 80, he declares, not as pride, but as frustration. His message is clear. If he can still stand and fight, then his soldiers have no excuse, but behind that strength is grief. Seated among his knights, Seisos points with anger and disappointment. "You need to work harder." His voice carries not just authority, but pain. Too many didn't fight. Too many abandoned their brothers in the tunnels. And in those tunnels is where Piskville paid the heaviest price. Seisos is not just a king. He is still a warrior, charging through forests and cities, sword raised. He fights alongside his men, even at his age. He leads from the front. But leadership comes with a cost, and that cost is written in the bodies left behind. By the final panels, the energy fades. The same king who once charged into battle now leans on a cane, walking slowly through rows of coffins. His expression is no longer anger. It's sorrow, a quiet, heavy sorrow. King Seisos suffered a lot of deaths in his army. This wasn't victory to him. This was survival, at a price he isn't sure was worth paying. He knows Gregory rewards loyalty, but Seisos doesn't fight for Gregory. He fights for Piskville. And now he prepares his people for the next war, because deep down, he knows it's coming. City of Cord, grief and vengeance. At the cemetery, King Yaka mourns in silence. He stands alone, holding a pair of scissors, symbolic, controlled, precise, much like the way he rules. But there's no control over this loss. At the grave, the truth is carved in stone. R.I.P. Duke, his greatest knight, his strongest leader. Gone. Yaka looks down at the grave, cape hanging heavy behind him. There are no words, just a stare filled with anger, disbelief, and something deeper, failure. The smaller panels echo his thoughts, his blank expression, his silence, his refusal to show weakness. But then comes the reminder that fuels everything. The killer stole his crown. That detail changes everything. This wasn't just a death. This was humiliation. Mossbark didn't just kill Duke. He disrespected him, took his crown, and paraded it as a trophy. For Yaka, that is something far worse than defeat. By the final panel, the name fills the space. Duke, not just a soldier, not just a knight, a legacy. What comes next? Two kings, two different reactions to the same war. Seisos prepares, training harder, demanding more, trying to prevent another loss like this. Yaka remembers, quietly building anger, knowing one day that anger will turn into action. And somewhere out there, Mossbark still walks free, with a stolen crown and no fear of consequences. For now, because in Taginia, war doesn't always end on the battlefield. Sometimes it just changes direction.
We must train harder.
Back in the heart of Iredell, victory has turned into suspicion, and suspicion into rage. In the first panel, King Gregory erupts with fury, his voice echoing through the stone halls. "You helped Srock!" His golden armor gleams, but his expression is anything but noble. This isn't a king seeking truth. This is a ruler looking for someone to blame. The tunnel invasion shook him, and now he's pointing fingers at the one man he trusted most, Phillicent. In the next moment, the accused knight stands his ground, covered in dark armor, calm but firm. He raises a hand and answers, "I didn't betray you." There's no fear in his voice, only confusion and defiance. He knows his loyalty, he knows his record. But Gregory isn't listening. The tension snaps. Back inside the castle, Gregory's anger escalates into a threat. "You will pay for this." To Gregory, doubt is the same as betrayal, and betrayal deserves punishment. His mind is already made up. Guards move in. Steel clashes as Phillicent is grabbed, but this is no ordinary knight. He reacts instantly, shoving one guard back, twisting free, drawing his blade just enough to create space. The soldiers hesitate. They know who he is, Gregory's best, and that hesitation is all Phillicent needs. He breaks through them. In the next panel, he's already running, armor clanking, sword in hand, moving fast through the castle corridors. This isn't rebellion. It's survival. He understands now. Gregory isn't seeking answers. He's seeking control, and staying means death. Behind him, Gregory roars, "Get back here!" But it's too late. Phillicent disappears through the castle exit, escaping into the unknown. None of the guards can catch him, not because they're weak, but because he's that skilled. One of the greatest knights in all of Taginia is now a fugitive. And back in the chamber, Gregory stands seething, his most trusted warrior gone, his control slipping in ways he didn't expect. What was once loyalty has now become pursuit. And from this moment forward, Phillicent is no longer Iredale's greatest knight. He is its most dangerous runaway. The story shifts to silence and ruin. Amron, once a neutral town, alive with both people and bugfolk, now stands as a hollow memory of what it used to be. The first panels show the aftermath. Broken homes, collapsed roofs, smoke still rising into a sky that feels too empty. There are no soldiers here now, no movement, just destruction. Suffered horrific damage, and it shows. Walls are torn apart, streets are buried in debris. What once felt like a place of life and routine is now unrecognizable. The war didn't pass through Amron gently. It tore through it without mercy. Then the reason becomes clear. Located between Juta and Cord, a simple sign points both ways, but that sign might as well mark a curse. Amron sat directly between two powerful forces. It didn't choose a side. It didn't raise weapons. It didn't call for war, but it couldn't escape it either. As the panels continue, the devastation stretches across the entire town. Homes, towers, and gathering places all reduced to rubble. Even the buildings that still stand feel lifeless, like shells abandoned by time. It became a battleground without choosing a side. That's the tragedy of Amron. It wasn't defeated, it wasn't conquered, it was caught between armies, caught between power, caught between decisions made far away from its streets. Now it stands as a ghost town, echoing with what used to be. The bugs and people who once lived side by side are gone or scattered. No voices, no rebuilding. Just the quiet reminder of what happens to those who get trapped in the middle of war. Amron didn't fight, but it paid the price anyway. Aid from Gisa. In the first panels, a new figure stands in contrast to the battlefield chaos. Mayor Chris of Gisa, dressed in gold and calm confidence, he holds up the source of his value. Green waka leaves, Not weapons, not armor, but medicine. Behind him, Iredell knights receive the leaves with care, almost reverence. These aren't just herbs, they are recovery. They heal wounds, steady the mind, and prepare soldiers to keep going after the horrors of war. King Gregory acknowledges it plainly. Your medicine has helped us in war. This is a different kind of alliance. Gisa didn't send soldiers, but what they provided may have been just as important. While others fought and fell, Chris ensured those who survived could stand again. A simple thank you from a knight says more than any victory speech ever could. Reward and strategy. Days later, inside Iredell, Gregory meets Chris face to face. But this isn't just gratitude, it's strategy. Gregory smiles and says, I have some gold for you. They shake hands, sealing more than a reward. It's a strengthened alliance. Gregory understands something many rulers don't. Power isn't just built on armies, it's built on relationships. Chris accepts, not with greed, but satisfaction. He knows his role, he knows his worth, and clearly, he's enjoying it. It's fun to win, he celebrates, arms raised, embracing the moment, mutual benefit. The next scenes show how this alliance truly works. Chris distributes supplies, bags of goods, likely more medicine, resources, or food, to the people of Iredell. He isn't just helping the king, he's supporting the kingdom. And Gregory, in return, gives something more personal. A bundle of grapes. Look what I got, Gregory says almost casually. But it's intentional. He knows Chris, he knows what he enjoys. It's a small gesture, but a powerful one. Chris sits back, relaxed, eating the grapes with a smile. Sweet victory. The bigger picture. This moment isn't about war. It's about why Gregory keeps winning. He rewards loyalty. He understands people. He keeps allies satisfied, not just with gold, but with respect and attention. Gisa may not have fought in the war, but if they ever had to, they would stand strong. And Gregory knows that. Because in Taginia, having more allies isn't just helpful. It's the difference between ruling and losing everything. The story turns toward injustice, and a man caught in something he never chose. Srock, a leader at work in the first panels, Mayor Abiola walks through the town of Srock with purpose. I am Mayor Abiola. He's firm, respected, and carries himself like a man who believes in order. Behind him, Srock looks peaceful. Mountains in the distance, townsfolk going about their lives, a glimpse of what the town used to be before the war cast its shadow. A flashback shows Srock before everything. Quiet streets, simple shops, a normal life. Before the arrest, Abiola is shown helping his people, shaking hands, guiding them, enforcing the law with discipline but fairness. He works closely with the town's identity, the bees, their pride and their livelihood. Even now, with the bee population damaged by war, he tries to rebuild, protect what remains, and keep Srock alive. He doesn't see himself as part of the war's wrongdoing, because he wasn't. The sudden turn back in his office, everything changes in an instant. What the? The door bursts open. 2 Iredell knights storm in. Get 'em! No warning, no discussion, just force. Abiola quickly understands. Invaders. But this time, he's the one being invaded. He resists, demanding authority. Unhand me at once. But it doesn't matter. The decision has already been made for him. He shouts the truth as they drag him away. I am innocent. But truth means nothing when blame has already been assigned. The dungeon of Iredell. The next panels darken. Stone walls, iron bars, and the cold reality of Gregory's justice. Abiola is thrown into a cell. King Gregory stands over him, satisfied. You will serve your time. To Gregory, this is simple. The tunnels were breached. Srock was involved. Abiola is responsible. Case closed. Gregory fights back with words, gripping the bars. You invaded my tunnels. No. He corrects it. Abiola fires back. One of my soldiers did this. But Gregory doesn't listen. He doesn't care. Truth isn't what he wants. Control is. A man who knows the truth. In the final moments, Abiola sits alone in his cell. I am innocent. He knows it. We know it. The real culprit, Strike, the soldier who betrayed Srock from within, remains free, hidden, untouched. And now Abiola sits in the dungeon cell, not knowing what will happen to him next. Not only that it's barely survivable in here, Abiola reflects, anger turning into frustration. Human rights violation. A guard responds coldly, say it in court. But Abiola already understands the reality. I will, but we know he'll sabotage it. Because Gregory controls the outcome. The tragedy of Srock suffers quietly. Their bees, once thriving, are now dwindling. Their economy, built on honey, is weakening. Their leader, the one trying to rebuild, is gone. And worst of all, the wrong man is paying the price. What this means: Mayor Abiola isn't a traitor, he's a scapegoat, a leader trying to hold his town together, now trapped in a dungeon for a crime committed behind his back. And somewhere out there, Strike walks free, while Abiola waits for a trial that may already be decided, because in Gregory's world, justice doesn't decide the outcome. Power does.
I am innocent.
Inside the worn stone halls of Selsmire Castle, King Diagil sits heavily on his throne, his grip tight around a spear he barely has the will to lift. His armor is torn, his clothes battered, just like his kingdom. The silence around him is thick, broken only by the faint echo of rebuilding outside. This is not the throne of a victor. It is the seat of a man carrying defeat. Meanwhile, in Selsmire, Diagil rises and begins to wander the castle halls. Each step feels heavier than the last. His expression is hardened, but beneath it lies frustration. And something worse. Doubt. The war replays in his mind over and over again. The tunnels, the retreat, the lost opportunity. The war could have been won. He believes it. Deep down, he truly does. If his forces had pushed just a little further, if his allies had held their ground, if more troops had made it through the tunnels into Iredell, King Gregory might have fallen. Diagil clenches his jaw at the thought. Gregory's not a god, not invincible, just a man, one that slipped through his grasp. But even as he convinces himself, another thought creeps in, one he hates. What if this is foolish thinking? The war has taken its toll. His mind feels fractured, pulled between logic and obsession. Trauma clouds his judgment. The line between strategy and regret has begun to blur. He walks past his throne again, no longer seeing it as a symbol of power, but as something temporary, something that could soon belong to someone else. Because he knows what's coming. The court summons, the charges, war crimes. Diagil's face tightens as the reality settles in. He will be forced to stand in Iredell, in Gregory's domain, judged by a system already poisoned by power and gold. There will be no fairness, no mercy, only a message to every town in Taginia. Defy King Gregory, and this is your fate. Diagil exhales slowly, staring forward with a cold, distant look. I'm being charged with war crimes. I have to attend court next week. The words hang heavy in the air, He knows what it likely means. Dungeons, suffering, maybe death. And worse, replacement. Gregory could install his own ruler in Selsmire, turning it into another controlled piece of his empire. But Diagil also knows something Gregory may be underestimating. The people. Despite the destruction, despite the loss, Selsmire still stands behind its king. They remember why the war was fought. They understand the truth. Peace under Gregory isn't peace at all. And as Diagil stands there, worn but unbroken, one thing remains certain in his heart. This story isn't over yet.
At least the throne still fits. Still the king.
In the dim, heavy halls of Juta's castle, King Conrad sits in silence, his crown resting upon a head burdened not by rule, but by regret. His hand presses against his beak, eyes distant, lost in thought. The room feels smaller around him, as if the weight of his decisions has closed in on the very walls. King Conrad is upset, not just with the war, but with himself. I helped Gregory win the battle. The realization cuts deep. He didn't swing a sword for Gregory. He didn't stand beside him. But by retreating, by pulling his forces back too soon, he opened the door for everything that followed. One decision, one moment of hesitation, shifted the course of the war. He lowers his head, covering his face, unable to escape the truth. If only I knew. His soldiers were strong, loyal, capable, and most of them survived. That's what makes it worse. He had the numbers. He had the strength. The skies of Juta could have been filled with wings, an overwhelming force crashing down on Gregory's army. But he hesitated. He doubted. He chose caution over conviction. And now, the cost is everywhere. So much damage has been done. Burned towns, broken alliances, people scattered. The land of Taginia suffers, and in Conrad's mind, it all traces back to him. He believes he was the first crack in the resistance, the first to fall back, and others followed. His expression hardens. But it's not anger at others. It's anger at himself. In a sudden surge of emotion, he strikes a nearby frame, cracking it with a sharp blow. The sound echoes through the chamber, brief, violent, and hollow. It doesn't fix anything. It doesn't undo what's been done. Nothing will. Now he stands alone, gripping a small object in his hand, staring down at the floor as the truth settles in fully. The burden weighs on me. It's not just guilt, it's responsibility. He carries the belief that his fear gave Gregory more power, that his retreat allowed tyranny to spread further across Taginia. And yet, beneath all the regret, something still remains. The birds of Juta are not broken. They are watchers of the skies, survivors, and when the time comes, they will rise again. King Conrad may never forgive himself, but one day he may seek redemption. And when he does, the skies won't be empty. Meanwhile, in Royswood, the weight of defeat hangs in the air. But Mayor Adan refuses to carry it. He walks the streets with a hardened stare, telling anyone who will listen, I didn't lose the war. In his mind, he and his soldiers fought until the very end in those tunnels. He clings to that belief like armor, unwilling to accept the truth that Royswood has fallen behind. But reality doesn't wait. A mailman approaches the estate gates, holding a small, ordinary package, far too ordinary for what it contains. Adan takes it with suspicion. Heck is this? He mutters as he opens it inside. A single paper. A court summons from Iredell. King Gregory isn't done. The message is clear. Royswood's war is over, but Aidan's consequences are just beginning. Adden's grip tightens. His expression shifts from disbelief to anger. He storms through his mansion, papers flying, desperately searching. I need to find that report. Someone gave up our plans, and then it hits him. The tunnel strategy, the very plan that was supposed to win them the war, was leaked. One of my soldiers sold us out. Rage explodes from him. A thunderous scream echoes through the halls. Rah! This isn't just about losing anymore. This is betrayal. I'll find out who! He vows, fists clenched, eyes burning with vengeance. But outside those walls, Royswood tells a different story. Mayor Adan stands before his people, no longer hiding. For the first time, his voice carries something real. I'm not here to make excuses. I failed you all. The crowd watches, silent, tired, scarred from war. He pushes further, almost daring them. Go and vote me out of office. I don't care. And they don't hesitate. We will. Their faces are cold, not just angry, disappointed, homes destroyed, lives lost, trust broken. That silence cuts deeper than any blade. Aidan falters. For a moment, the strong leader disappears, replaced by a man who finally understands. He's already lost, more than the war. Instead of standing tall, he lashes out, throwing the moment away. Later, alone, the anger fades. Only truth remains. I love my citizens, he whispers, quietly, staring out the window. But it's too late. He packs what little he has left, his weapon, his pride, his regrets. He walks out of his home. They'll miss you, he says, though no one is there to hear it. From a carriage window, Royswood fades into the distance. Goodbye, Royswood. And then, Wywood. A city swallowed by decay. Broken buildings, dark alleys, signs of crime everywhere. Even the air feels heavier here. Adden steps into it, no longer a mayor, no longer a leader. Just another face in the shadows. Wywood is wild and crazy. For the first time, he isn't in control. But beneath the defeat, beneath the anger, something still lingers. The blue-skinned people of this world aren't known for giving up, and somewhere inside Mayor Adan, neither is he. Before the war. In the quiet tension before Iredell won the war, the true spark of the conflict was already being lit in secret. Strike, a soldier of Srock, under Mayor Abayola, made a choice that would change everything. Under the cover of routine, he met with Royswood soldiers, men loyal to Mayor Abayola and King Diagil, just outside the tunnels that snaked beneath Iredell. The exchange was simple, but devastating. Are you Joel? Yes, sir. With that confirmation, trust was established. Strike didn't hesitate. He revealed what only a few should have known. The tunnel system, the hidden paths, the weaknesses beneath Iredell's defenses, and most importantly, the map. I have what you need. The map is what we need. And just like that, the fate of Iredell shifted. Strike handed it over. That single act gave Diagil's forces confidence, certainty. No longer guessing, no longer risking blind attacks. They now had a way in. The tunnels became the gateway to war. Without that map, the Alliance might have faltered, but with it, they marched forward without doubt. Why would Strike do it? Because this was never about loyalty. It was revenge. King Gregory had taken something from him, his brother. And from that moment on, Strike didn't care about orders, mayors, or consequences. He wanted Gregory to fall, to suffer, to burn, even if it meant igniting a war that would consume everything around him. He knew Mayor Abiola would never approve. He knew what punishment would come. He simply didn't care. After the war came, and it broke more than just armies. The tunnels failed. The battle didn't go as planned. And when the dust settled, the truth behind the map began to surface. Strike knew it was only a matter of time before his name was spoken. And when it was, there would be no mercy. So he ran, not like a coward, but like a man who understood survival. His destination: Wywood, a city no one was proud of, dirty, broken, crawling with criminals and forgotten souls, the kind of place where a man could disappear or be swallowed whole. This place no good. He knew it the moment he arrived, but that was exactly why it worked. No one asked questions in Wywood. No one cares who you were. Strike kept his head down as whispers of war still echoed across the land. Meanwhile, Iredell Knights could also be looking for him. And now, Mayor Abiola knows betrayal had opened the tunnels. They just needed the name, and when they find it, they will come. Strike finds a small, dim hotel. No comforts, no safety, just time. 1 silver coin for 5 nights. A cheap price for a fragile chance to stay hidden. I need to hide for a while. And so he does. Days pass. He stays inside, watching, waiting, thinking. Because deep down, nothing has changed. Strike still hates Gregory. He still wants revenge. And a man with nothing left to lose is the most dangerous kind. This story isn't over. Hiding in Wywood. Days pass, and for the first time since the war, things are quiet. Too quiet. Strike keeps his head low in the broken streets of Wywood, a place where no one asks questions and no one cares about the past. The buildings lean like they're ready to collapse. Crime lingers in every alley, and the only real life in the city comes from dimly lit bars and desperate people. Strike walks those streets with his sword at his side and his eyes constantly moving. Nothing has happened. No soldiers, no whispers, no accusations. But that doesn't mean he's safe. He doesn't trust King Gregory. And he definitely doesn't trust that Royswood will stay silent forever. With nothing else to do, Strike steps into one of the only places alive in Wywood. A bar. Inside, the air is thick with noise and drink. Strike sits down, saying little, but the bartender notices immediately. Not his face, but the armor. The B, a symbol only Srock soldiers wear. Instead of fear, the bartender shows respect. It's on me. A mug of beer is placed in front of Strike. No questions asked, just quiet understanding. The bartender knows Srock, knows what kind of soldiers they are. Strike drinks, one after another. For a moment the war fades, but peace doesn't last long. He stands and heads toward the back, toward the bathroom, needing a moment away from the noise. And that's when everything changes. The door opens. 4 Iredell Knights walk in. The entire room shifts. Conversations quiet. Eyes drop. Armor clinks as they move through the bar, like hunters who already know their prey is close. Strike freezes. He stays out of sight, listening. "We are looking for a Srock soldier." That's all he needs to hear. It's him. His time in Wywood is over. He sees the knights speaking to the bartender, and in that moment, doubt creeps in. Would the bartender protect him, or fold under pressure? Strike doesn't wait to find out. He slips back into the bathroom, pushes open the small window, and forces himself through it without hesitation. No noise, no goodbye, just escape. He lands outside and disappears into the shadows before the knights even realize he was there. Strike isn't hiding anymore. Now, he's running. The journey to Arcta. Strike knows one thing now. Wywood isn't far enough. If he wants to survive, he has to go somewhere no one would dare follow. Somewhere harsh, distant, unforgiving, Arcta, the frozen edge of the world. Without wasting time, Strike boards a train, the Summer Express, and rides west, away from Wywood, away from Iredell, and closer to the unknown lands near Death Falls. Need a new location. Arcta. The further he travels, the colder it gets, until finally he arrives. Snow falls endlessly. The sky is grey. The wind cuts like blades. This isn't a place meant for comfort. It's a place that tests survival. Strike steps into the cold and immediately feels it. His armor, once protection, now feels like ice. His breath shortens. His body stiffens. The cold isn't just around him, it's inside him. He looks around. Nothing. No town. No people. Just endless snow. Strike begins to run. Not from enemies this time, but from the cold itself. Each step drains him. His strength fades. His vision blurs. The storm grows stronger, threatening to swallow him whole. But then, a shape. A small building emerges through the snow. A sheriff's cabin. Hope. With what little strength he has left, Strike stumbles forward, forcing his body to move. Help! He pounds toward the door, desperate for warmth, for shelter, for life, because out here in Arcta, the cold doesn't care who you are. Meanwhile, in Iredell Castle, the war may be over, but its consequences are just beginning. Inside the towering halls of Iredell, where gold and power rule above all else, Mayor Farley of Jacques stands broken, once loud, once defiant, now reduced to nothing more than a trembling figure begging for mercy. Please, have mercy. Forgive me, Your Majesty. His voice shakes. His body folds in on itself. This is not a leader anymore. This is a survivor. The rats of Jacques were crushed in the war. Their town lies in ruin, their numbers thinned, their pride shattered. And Farley, he knows the truth. He didn't save them. He didn't fight like he claimed he would. He hid. Now he stands before the very man responsible for their downfall. King Gregory. Dressed in gold, radiating confidence, Gregory doesn't see a threat in front of him. He sees something far more useful. Submission. I am superior. The words aren't just pride. They're law in this room. Gregory has won. And now he decides what comes next. Farley pleads, not just for himself, but for what little remains of his people. He promises obedience. He promises peace. No more fighting. No more resistance. Anything to make the suffering stop. But Gregory isn't moved by pity. He's thinking. Because to him, this isn't about revenge. It's about control. Jacques may be broken, but broken things can still be used. A defeated enemy can become a loyal servant. And add in the rats to his growing influence. That only strengthens his grip over Taginia. Farley understands this, and he knows exactly how to seal the deal. Slowly, nervously, he reaches forward. Here, a bag, heavy, filled with gold. A bag of gold. For you. The moment hangs in the air. Gregory takes it. No hesitation, no anger, no punishment, no justice, just acceptance. And with that simple act, Farley buys his life and the temporary survival of Jacques. No prison, no execution, no immediate consequences. But this isn't mercy, it's ownership. Farley doesn't walk out of that castle as a free leader. He walks out as a man who now belongs to King Gregory. And deep down, everyone knows the truth. Rats don't stay obedient forever. This peace, it's fragile. And when it breaks, the consequences will be far worse than before.
am sorry, King Gregory. I made many mistakes. I will not do it again. Please take gold and accept my apology.
Meanwhile, in the city of Ramor, while some beg for mercy in Iredell, others celebrate. King Gregory arrives in Ramor not as a ruler under pressure, but as a conqueror enjoying his victory. The city itself reflects its leaders' alliances, dim lights, heavy smoke, wealth flowing through corruption, and power traded at tables instead of battlefields. Waiting for him is Mayor Zeal, a man cut from a very different cloth than Farley. No fear, no begging, just business. They meet inside a grand casino, the kind of place where fortunes are won and lost in minutes. Gregory extends his hand, and Zeal accepts it without hesitation. No kneeling, no trembling. This is not submission. This is partnership. Zeal holds a cigar in his mouth, a donut in hand, and a look that says he's already calculating his next move. He didn't fight for Gregory out of loyalty. He fought because it benefited him, and Gregory knows it. At the tables, the two waste no time. Coins clink, cards shuffle, drinks pour. Gold moves across the table like it's nothing. Gregory laughs as he tosses chips and winnings around, clearly enjoying the spoils of war. Zeal, on the other hand, stays focused, eyes sharp, hands steady, always thinking. This isn't just gambling. It's a display. Power, wealth, control. Gregory raises his glass. Thanks, war friend. A toast. Not of honor, but of convenience. Zeal drinks with him, but his expression barely changes. He's not here to celebrate Gregory. He's here because being close to power keeps him powerful. The truth behind the celebration. They didn't stand a chance. Zeal says it plainly, holding his cards, reflecting on the war like it was just another bet that paid off. No sympathy, no regret. To him, the war was a game, and they won. Gregory bursts into laughter. Ha ha ha! The room echoes with it. Two powerful men, surrounded by gold, alcohol, and victory, laughing at the destruction left behind. But beneath the laughter, there's something else. Gregory sees Zeal as useful. Zeal sees Gregory as profitable. There is no loyalty here, only advantage. And in a place like Ramor, all alliances come with a price, because the same man laughing beside you today might be the one betting against you tomorrow. Meanwhile, in the town of Praso, not every corner of Taginia is filled with fear. In the warm, sunlit streets of Praso, life goes on, simple, steady, and untouched by the chaos that tore through Iredell. Mayor Vasquez stands outside a small taco stand, eating like any other man in town. No throne, no armor, just food, people, and a quiet moment after the storm. His dog, Coco, waits nearby, tail low but hopeful, watching every bite like it might get lucky. For a moment, it feels normal, then everything changes. Word spreads quickly. King Gregory has arrived. He walks through the streets in full gold armor, towering over the people of Praso. Children stop and stare. Citizens go silent. Some step back, others just watch carefully. Gregory isn't here to destroy. He's here to collect. At the taco stand, Gregory approaches Mayor Vasquez, not with anger, but with a smile. Thanks for fighting for me. It's casual, almost friendly. But there's weight behind it. Vasquez stands there, taco in hand, face unreadable. Unlike Farley, he isn't begging. Unlike Zeal, he isn't celebrating. He's observing. Gregory eats with him, drinks with him, raising a glass as if they are equals. The king comes to show his appreciation. But appreciation from Gregory is never just gratitude. It's a reminder. You fought for me. Now you stand with me. A quiet warning. They share food, they toast. The moment looks peaceful, but underneath it, there's tension. Because Vasquez knows what kind of man Gregory is, and Gregory knows what kind of man Vasquez could be. This isn't just a thank you visit, it's a test, a check, a message without saying it out loud. Stay loyal or become the next target. Meanwhile, inside Iredale Castle. The war may be over, but inside the stone walls of Iredale, it feels like the beginning of something else. Victory. The halls echo not with battle cries anymore, but with laughter, music, and the clashing of mugs. "We hurt them bad," a brute of a soldier growls proudly, gripping his drink like a trophy. There's no regret in his voice, only satisfaction. The enemy wasn't just defeated, they were crushed. Across the room, another raises his mug high. "Cheers for victory!" And just like that, the celebration spreads. A feast of winners' tables are packed with food, roasted meat, overflowing mugs, scraps tossed aside without care. Soldiers from different towns, different alliances, now sit shoulder to shoulder as if they've always been brothers. They eat like kings. They drink like there's no tomorrow. Because to them, there isn't a war anymore, only reward. One tears into a massive roasted leg, washing it down with beer, while others slam mugs back without pause. Armor is still on, weapons still nearby. But tonight, they aren't needed. Tonight is about victory, music, movement, and pride. Deeper in the castle, the mood grows louder. Music fills the air. Boots stomp, laughter rises. A panther soldier and a bug-like fighter dance side by side, moving wildly, celebrating not just survival, but dominance. It doesn't matter where they came from. In this moment, they are united by one thing. They won. No one talks about the fallen, no one mentions the destruction, only the result, the mindset of the victors. Such a quick defeat. Spoken with a smirk. A heavily armored warrior, Nabu, stands tall, drink in one hand, weapon in the other, calm, confident, almost amused. To him, the war wasn't long. It wasn't hard. It wasn't even close. That's how the victors rewrite history. What was chaos to others becomes easy in the mouths of those who survived. But beneath the celebration, there's something dangerous growing, overconfidence. They laugh. They drink, they believe it's over, but wars like this don't end with a single victory. Enemies retreat, wounds heal, and resentment builds, while the soldiers celebrate inside Iredale. Somewhere out there, others are recovering, watching, waiting, and when they return, this celebration will feel very different. Night falls inside Iredale Castle. The celebration has quieted, the music faded into echoes, and the halls now glow with firelight. King Gregory returns to his chamber, resting in the warmth of victory, fully convinced the war is behind him. This war is won. He says it with certainty, with pride. To him, there is nothing left to fear, but not everyone feels the same. From the shadows of the castle, his sister Chelsea approaches. She's quiet, calm, but different. In her hands, she holds it, the strange orange sphere she calls fire. It glows softly, almost alive, but the warmth it gives off isn't comforting. It feels wrong, heavy, like something watching. But I still worry what lies ahead. Chelsea speaks carefully, her voice steady but uneasy. She doesn't see the victory the same way Gregory does. Where he sees an ending, she sees something beginning, something coming. Two minds, one throne. Gregory sits back, almost amused. You worry too much. He dismisses her concern easily, brushing it aside like it's nothing. To him, power is absolute. He has crushed his enemies, broken alliances, taken control. What could possibly threaten him now? But Chelsea doesn't argue. She simply lifts the glowing sphere slightly. The fire gives me warnings. That's when the room changes. The flames in the background flicker, almost reacting. Because this isn't imagination. This is something else. Something darker. Something tied to her. A dangerous truth. Gregory knows what she is. He knows the magic she carries, the unnatural energy that surrounds her. Witchcraft, power, something beyond normal understanding. Others don't trust her, and for good reason. But Gregory does, because power recognizes power, and together they are something more dangerous than either alone. Still, Gregory refuses to believe in fear. Warnings, because I am king. To him, any threat that comes will be crushed just like the last. He doesn't prepare. He dominates. That's his way. A quiet moment, with hidden meaning. Despite everything, Gregory softens. He pulls Chelsea into an embrace. It'll be okay, sister. And for a moment, it looks genuine. A king, a sister, a family moment in the middle of chaos. But even then, Chelsea doesn't let go of the sphere. It stays in her hand, still glowing, still watching, because deep down, she knows something Gregory refuses to accept. Victory doesn't end a war. It invites what comes next, and whatever the fire is warning her about. It hasn't arrived yet. The end. For now, inside a quiet, worn-down chamber, far from the golden celebration of Iredell, stands a broken king, King Diagil. The crown, once a symbol of his power, now feels heavy in his hand. He doesn't wear it with pride anymore. He hesitates, lifting it slowly, as if even touching it reminds him of everything he's lost. His face is bruised, his armor gone, his kingdom shattered. King Gregory has won. There's no denying it. The war is over, but this is not peace. This is aftermath. Diagil's grip tightens around his weapon, knuckles whitening. His jaw clenches, his eyes burn. Not with defeat, but with something far more dangerous, anger. He thinks of Selsmire, of his soldiers, of the allies who trusted him, of the chance he had and lost. Every mistake echoes in his mind. Every loss fuels something growing inside him. He lowers the crown slightly, but he does not drop it, because deep down, he knows something. This isn't the end of his story. It's the beginning of something darker. King Gregory sits on the throne of victory. His allies celebrate. His enemies scatter. His power spreads across Taginia. He believes he has crushed all opposition, but he hasn't crushed everything, because somewhere in the shadows, King Diagil still stands, wounded, humbled, but alive. And now he has nothing left to lose. The crown will rise again, not with honor, not with mercy, but with revenge. To be continued.